Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you. This is a new presentation from www.central-mosque.com and from the Humble Heart YouTube channel. The topic today is the meat halal in Turkey? Investigative report. Alhamdulillah, it is possible to get information directly from scholars in Turkey and also from Pakistan, because there are a lot of scholars in Pakistan who are involved in consultative processes across various sectors of society in Turkey on various things, just like what I mentioned in the Azerbaijan versus Armenia video on this channel. So you'll be able to see the link right here in this corner. If you haven't seen that, please go ahead. This video is more directed to people who are visiting Turkey either on a holiday or on a transit flight through Turkey on the airports. I'm wondering, can I eat this or can I eat that? And what is the actual situation in Turkey? So, as always, I have done my research with the relevant people and I've tried to bring you up to date information, which is correct to the best of my knowledge in September 2021. Before I proceed, let me talk about HMC or Halal Monitoring Committee. Alhamdulillah, I have some knowledge of Halal Monitoring Committee and how it works and how it audits the process and so on. And I can tell you that there isn't a system like that elsewhere in the world in any Muslim country, mashallah, which is well run, well audited, and so on and so forth. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward everyone who's involved with HMC, Halal Monitoring Committee. However, in my mind, there are two unintended side effects of HMC in the minds of the Muslims. Number one is people believe that if meat is not certified by HMC or is certified by someone else, then it's automatically haram or something like that, which is not true. Number two is people believe that animals which are stunned before dhabiha or before Islamic slaughtering are not halal. That's also not true, because the verdict and the opinion of the Sharia, and which is detailed by the ulama, is the meat is halal if the animal is alive before it is slaughtered. So keep those two concepts in mind. Let me make a few disclaimers before I proceed further. I am not making any health claims, political claims, or any other claims in this video. I am just explaining to you the halal aspect of the meat commonly available in Turkey. Now, a lot of people say, trust practicing local Muslims and ask the questions. Well, it isn't possible if you're simply transiting through an airport or you're only staying in Istanbul or somewhere else for a couple of days. Also, we've got to understand that, our societies are changing. There's a lot of commercialization. There are franchises available. There's advantages and disadvantages of that. The advantage of that is obviously they have to stick to a standard or a process. And as I've talked about, it's not practical during your vacation or if you're just staying on the airport for a few hours to go and eat from this restaurant at this address, particularly now with Turkish Airlines expanding and the Istanbul airport. For those of you who have seen the new one, a lot of people going for Hajj, Umrah, or even to India, Pakistan, and so on will be on transit flights through Istanbul airport. So this presentation is directed towards you to give you on the ground information what is actually happening in Turkey. One more thing I want to point out is, if you have not spent hours and hours and hours watching videos, listening to interviews, reading on the topic of halal across the Muslim world, let me just say that I anticipate that in the next few years, Turkey, Pakistan, and Malaysia will unify, and they will, well, there's already a global standard for halal, but we'll try to make the Muslims as familiar as possible. That is happening in the background. There are interviews of ministers from Imran Khan's government who are already saying that they're working with Turkey and Malaysia in this regard. So, alhamdulillah, this will be good news for a lot of Muslims internationally, inshallah. I asked a scholar who has been able to make some presentations on the topic of halal on various forums in Istanbul. And he's told me, he goes, as far as the layman is concerned, alhamdulillah, he comes from a trusted institute. I've consulted his teachers. That as far as the layman is concerned in Turkey, he goes, when it comes to lamb and beef, which is locally slaughtered in Turkey, he goes, you can eat with your eyes closed, no problem, because it is hand slaughtered and it is dhabiha. when it comes to chicken, he goes, there is a certain amount of meat in circulation in Turkey as far as chicken is concerned, which is mechanically slaughtered. So he goes, when it comes to chicken, you got to look for certification to make sure that it is hand slaughtered. But he goes, lamb and beef locally slaughtered in Turkey, eat with trust. Now, I am talking about locally slaughtered for a reason and will become clear on the next slide. Let's talk about the background knowledge that you need about Turkey. There are certain differences in Turkey compared to Middle East or Arabs. When it comes to Arabs in the Middle East, when you talk about halal meat, then automatically you get blank looks, or you say, of course, meat is halal. The reason being is the Arabs have this concept, and some of the Arab scholars have given this opinion that meat of the Ahlul Kitab, the Christians and the Jews, is halal. So they look at it under that context, and you have to really explain, I mean, dhabiha by a Muslim, and so on and so forth. No such ambiguity or knowledge exists amongst Turks. When you say halal meat, they understand exactly what you mean, right? So that's the first good news. The second difference between Turkey and the Middle East is Middle East imports meat. Turkey, by and large, does not. By and large, Turkey imports animals, live animals, into Turkey, which are then slaughtered locally. So that is fantastic news. However, society has changed. So 30, 40 years ago, people used to go to their local butchers and buy the meat. Well, it's no longer true because they're now gigantic supermarkets, chains, and some people just go get it. As far as a local, common, layman Turkish person is concerned, they simply go to an establishment and they buy the meat or they consume the meat and they don't bat an eyelid about it. So most people will give you quizzical looks about that as far as the population is concerned. However, when you visit Turkish forums and you look at various media, there is a lot of knowledge and a lot of questions about the meat being halal. If you go to Turkey, it is common for someone to look for certification or to ask the restaurant or ask wherever you're shopping for it to be halal. The Turkish word for halal is halal, but spelled with a E instead of an A in English. So et means meat, so you can just say halal et, meat halal, and they'll understand even if you don't speak Turkish. The sentence, if you want to construct it grammatically, would be et halal me, is the meat halal, with a question mark, but you just say halal et and they understand what you're saying. They'll point you to a certificate or they will say something about it. So feel free to ask, inshallah. Here, there must be a question in people's minds, and if it's not, let me plant that question there because it's important for you to understand this. You might have seen, boxes of olives or something else, or even fish, which is labeled halal on the box or on the packet, and you might have wondered why. Because surely olives are halal or fish are halal. Good question, and let me answer that in the next few slides, inshallah, because it's important for you to understand why some of these things are labeled halal when they're obviously halal. OIC, Organization of Islamic Countries, has done a lot of work when it comes to creating a global standard for halal. They have entrusted this to the Standards and Metrology Institute for Islamic Countries, SMIIC. SMIIC created a general requirements or a standard for halal food, and it first standardized in 2011. This standard is OIC/SMIIC 1:2011. When it comes to Turkey, most of the certificates will carry this date. This was updated in 2019, so the latest standard as of now is OIC/SMIIC 1:2019. Because my presentation is about halal meat, the requirements and the what is in the standard hasn't changed much between 2011 and 2019. So if your certificate carries this 2011 date, don't worry about it because it's pretty much the same. So what does the two standards talk about when it comes to within the context of this presentation? So when it comes to slaughtering an animal, it talks about certain things. It first says the animal that is being slaughtered has to be halal. Or you will say obviously, but yes, they're creating a standard, so they are being detailed in what they're actually saying. And they're talking about the animal has to be fed halal. The animal, if it's arrived from long distance, it has to rest, and so on and so forth. Next, they're talking about the slaughterer. And what they're saying is that the slaughterer has to be an adult Muslim who's mentally sound and fully understands the fundamental rules and conditions related to the slaughter of animals. And the slaughterer should have halal slaughtering issued by competent, so a certificate issued by competent authority. As far as the procedure of dhabiha or slaughter is concerned, then the animal has to be laid on its side facing qibla, and the person who's slaughtering has to say the tasmiyah, bismillah, and without it, it is not considered halal. And the slaughtering has to be done just once. The cut has to be just once. You cannot just sever the neck and so on. So those standards are Sharia compliant. And this is what Turkey, so any certificate issued in Turkey will say OIC SMIIC standard, and this is what the standard is. Now, like I have just pointed out, as far as HMC is concerned, which is basically monitoring of food from farm to fork, it is quite intensive, it is detailed, it can be audited and so on. I do not know, although the Turkish authorities say that they regularly inspect the farms and they regularly inspect other places which are using their certificates. I can't comment on how stringent that is. What I'm saying is from a standard point of view, it is pretty good. So when you are in Turkey, you will see the certificate most commonly used, which is the OIC SMIIC 1:2011 certificate. And the most common meat supplier or brand in Turkey is Amasya. There are many other brands that also carry the certification, but this Amasya brand is important. So if you're in supermarkets and stuff or elsewhere, you can just look for this particular brand, many other brands which are available, as I've talked about. So what is the direct impact of this certification in Amasya? Which fast food joints or restaurants that can you go to Turkey and just simply eat with your eyes closed, knowing that it follows, this certification and the meat is halal? Number one, Burger King. All Burger Kings in Turkey follow the certification and all the meat is halal. Arby's, halal. Popeyes, halal. Sbarro, halal. Usta Dönerci. This is one of the largest chains in Turkey and it is halal. Usta Pidece, also halal. There are many other fast food restaurants, and again, as I said, you can go to them and ask them, is your meat halal? And they will refer you to a certificate. So remember this logo, look at it, and it is halal. So, and also McDonald's in Turkey, everywhere is halal. Now, I'm telling you about all the certification process, but as the Maulana has clearly pointed out, in Turkey, lamb and beef you can eat anywhere when the meat is locally slaughtered, which is most of the time, without batting an eyelid. It's a chicken which Maulana said check the certification with. So I'm just giving you, if you're at the airport and you're only there for a few hours and kids are getting hungry, what do I need to eat? So I've given you some examples. Many other fast food chains, I've just listed you the most common one. Anywhere you go in Turkey, you'll find one of the establishments. And again, I am not commenting on the health aspects of it. I'm not commenting on the political aspects of it. My presentation is to assist people who are simply on a transit flight or something like that. Now, there is another standard in Turkey, which is more stringent, more organized, and it is GIMDES. So what they do is they also certify products. So there's a website, gimdes.org, and they certify products based on all four madhabs. So if you see any product of theirs and all four boxes are ticked, that means it is halal certified according to all four madhabs, which is Hanafi, Shafi, Maliki, and Hanbali. And sometimes I've seen some certain labels where Hanbali is not ticked or Maliki is not ticked, but Hanafi and Shafi is ticked. So GIMDES is a very good organization. And again, the information that I've received from on the ground, from ulama and so on, is saying you can trust the GIMDES certification with your eyes closed when you are, shopping or eating at an establishment. And they have many, if you go to the website, you will find many certified products, stores, restaurants, and so on and so forth. And this is called GIMDES. But when it comes to meat, when you read through their processes, they also allow stunning under certain circumstances and under certain conditions. So I just wanted to point that out about stunning. So that whether you look at the GIMDES certification or you look at the other one which I pointed out, this one, they both allow stunning of animals under certain conditions and circumstances. Now, I've been through their presentations and they very clearly articulate what is the voltage and what's the duration they apply to the animals and so on, but they do allow stunning. So before I sign off for this presentation, let me just say that these are food standards. So they certify a lot more than just meat. Okay, it's a food standard. My presentation obviously focuses on meat, particularly when it comes to Gimdes. They certify many other products. So if you're shopping in Turkey, feel free to look up this website and then shop accordingly. Inshallah. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.